What's up, my Makokos, Raid Pros, and Bonk Bros? Hope you're all doing well. Defender here, and today I want to go through a really important topic at the moment, and that is tripods. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through every single class and all of their builds. So, looking at the main two builds for their engravings, all the tripods that are commonly used, and I'll talk about how I figured that out. It took a long time, but we've recorded all the information we needed, and I'm just going to run through every single class. Every single advanced class, I should say, sorry, and both their builds, if they have two, and then looking at all their tripods, so you know what you have to do over the next week in any of the classes that you play to grab those tripods and store them. And it's very simple and important to do it this week, okay? Now, disclaimer, before we go any further, these tripods are found from a multitude of ways, right? So, first of all, I've gone off my experience in game. For the classes I play, the tripods are based off of my experience playing in the endgame, conversing with guildmates, conversing with other people that play, and just talking in Discord amongst the other Lost Ark community. And for the classes I don't play, and also for the ones I do, I went onto the Korean information database, LOA, and I've looked at the top 100 players for each build. And I went through meticulously all of their tripods and the skills they use. And so you will see in the video some recommendations for combat skills. There's more than 8 skills there. And that's because I found that in some cases the average for the class was more than 8. So maybe 6 of them were always used, and then 2 of them were often changed between a pool of different abilities. And so I've just included those abilities as well and the tripods that people used. So there is more than 8 in some instances, and that makes sense because there are some flexible choices, and so I've added that in where I could. I'm also going to talk about the priority of the tripods that you should be focusing on for each build. Okay, a lot of it comes from my own experience, and the rest of it comes from reading some of the guides, talking to community members, and watching videos from other people that play, and just getting an idea of which ones they're always focusing at level 5 first, and the ones that they do afterwards, so you know which ones are more important to try and get hold of as soon as possible. Okay, but before we get into today's video, you guys know the drill with YouTube. If you like the video and you appreciate the content, please consider dropping me a subscribe. Let me know down in the comments down below if there's any ways that I can improve the video, or if I've got something wrong maybe, or maybe you just want to share your opinions on the matter. I always appreciate hearing from you guys. Your feedback is incredible. I'm taking on board everything you guys are saying, and I try and communicate with you guys as much as possible in the comments down below. And so yeah, if you like the content, please consider doing any of those. I'd really appreciate your support. We're going to keep growing as a community, and I want to keep delivering amazing content to you guys. But anyway, let's get straight into the video. Enjoy. And we're going to start off with the overall classes. So we're going to start with Warrior. And with Warrior, we're going to start with the Gunlancer. Now, the Gunlancer has 2 class builds, right? So you have the Combat Readiness and the Lone Knight. So for Combat Readiness, if we look at the tripods for it, I'll put it up on screen. As you can see here, it's mostly blue skills, right? And the ones I want to emphasize for you to focus on are your damaging ones, okay? So you want to prioritize things like Leap Attack, Guardian's Thunderbolt, Shield Charge, Shield Bash. Those kind of things are important to focus on the damaging tripods for those skills, okay? Very simple, okay? And let's move on to Lone Knight. Now, Lone Knight is the red skill side of the Gunlancer. Again, same principle here. You're going to be focusing on leveling up the damaging side of the red abilities, okay? Important ones to note are Surge Cannon being the highest damage, and then Charge Stinger being the second highest, so make sure those 2 are focused. And then Gun Lance Shot and Dash Upper Fire are also really good DPS alternatives in your rotation, so make sure you're focusing those ones in that order of priority. Okay, and then let's move on to the next in the warrior class, Destroyer. Okay, so Destroyer has 2 classes again, and that is Rage Hammer and Gravity Training. Let's start with Rage Hammer because that isn't changing much with the update. Okay, and with this one, generally speaking, for both, we're going to say focus on the purple skills, which are known as release skills. Okay, so they're releasing your points that you've earned. Focus on the damaging side of the purple skills. I've marked on there which ones you should level up to 5, and you can see the damaging ones from those. Focus on those ones first, and then after those are done, focus on Endure Pain. Endure Pain is your big cooldown. It's your survivability. Also gives you a shield, so you can play around that for more damage. But yeah, focus around the purple skills and then Endure Pain. And then if we look at gravity training, this one is getting a huge change, and I've added quite a few combat skills here because we are getting some changes, and I've added the new skill in as well called Earthwave. And the same principle here, focus the purple skills, but also with these purple skills, I want you to focus on the gauge building tripods that are being added. Okay, so they're not in the game yet, so I can't show you in the tripods here, but I have accounted for where they will be. Okay, so same principle, focus the purples, gauge generation, and then endure pain. Alright, then let's move on to Berserker. Berserker has two again, and we're going to look at Mayhem first, because that one doesn't really change. And with Mayhem, we want to say, focus on all of the abilities that you're going to be using during your red dust windows. Okay, so red dust is the primer. It's going to increase your attack power, and then you're going to be using your damaging abilities in those windows. You're going to be alternating them into rotations, okay? So that's Sword Storm, Strike Wave, Finish Strike, Hellblade, Tempest Slash. Those ones, make sure you're focusing their level 5 tripods first before anything else. Okay, and then a similar principle here for Berserker's Technique. Berserker's Technique is going to have a change. It's having a huge buff, but it's not going to change the tripods. So again, we want to focus on the Red Dust enhanced damage abilities. Like I said before, you have like Hellblade, Tempest Slash, Strike Wave, Finish Strike, and then also we want to focus on the gauge generating side of things. Okay, so Mounting Crash and Windblade. And Maelstrom, they all have gauge generation, which is important for the build, so focus on those as well. And then the last one for the warrior overall is the Paladin, and I'm only going to look at the support side of Paladin because I don't want to really encourage the DPS side. You can play around with it yourself if you're interested, but Paladin tripods are very, very easy. You don't actually need a lot of them, and in this case, we're going to talk about the most important ones are the ones with faith built into them. So you want to look for any of the skills that you use. I've included all of the holy skills that you can swap between, depending on the build you want to play. And you're going to be looking for leveling up the faith tripods first. And you can kind of see in the icons which ones they are. They're the kind of ones that look similar for everybody in their abilities for gauge. And getting those to 5 is the most important. And then you can increase the other ones alongside that have benefits to the group, maybe increasing the mana regen or increasing the strength of the shield or the size of your AoE, those kind of things. But they're definitely secondary to increasing the faith generation. Okay. All right, let's move on to martial artist then. And the first I want to talk about is the Wardancer. Wardancer first, let's go into first intention. Okay, and for this one we want to prioritize, first of all, Wind's Whisper. You want to get ready attack leveled up for that first. And then you want to look at Sweeping Kick, Flash Heat Fang, and Moon Flash Kick, and increasing their level on damaging tripods, okay? Similar story again for Esoteric Skill, which is the other build. And we want to increase Wind's Whisper again, but this time we want to also increase the skills on, so your Esoteric skills, you have Blast Formation, you want to go for those first for the damaging, and also for Call of the Wind God, you want to increase those tripods, and then also Moonflash Kick for its White Flame Kick. Okay. Let's move on to Scrapper next. Scrapper, let's start with Shock Training, personal favorite of mine. Very, very easy. This one, simply just prioritize your sock skills, and a special note to Death Rattle and Supernova being two key ones to make sure you focus on leveling up as soon as possible. And then you can also work on the focus tripods as well afterwards. Okay, so do the shock skill damage tripods first, and then the focus tripods. And then we've got the ultimate skill Taijutsu for the other side of the class. And I've got quite a few different skills in here because there is a variation a little bit on the Korean side. But again, prioritize your focus skills, especially the battering fists and the iron cannon blow. Okay, nice and simple. All right, let's move on to Soulfist next. Soulfist, we'll start with Robust Spirit. Now with Robust Spirit, what we want to do is focus on the energy release tripod first, ready attack. That is one of the most important ones you can focus on. It's a huge damage buff. And then you want to focus on your damaging skills, Merciless Pummel, Force Orb, Heavenly Squash, those kind of things. They're very, very important to focus on. Okay. And then if we move on to the other one, which is Energy Overflow. And this one we want to focus again on the energy release. Very, very important to get that ready attack up to level 5 as soon as possible, because that's going to buff your damage overall on a big factor. And then again, after that, you want to focus on leveling up your Merciless Pummel, your Force Orb, your Energy Blast, and your Celestial Palm. Those kind of things come afterwards on their damage side. All right, and then let's look at Glaivier next. Glaivier, we want to look at the Pinnacle build first, and with this one here we want to prioritize quick prep on your Shackling Blue Dragon, and that's going to get you to debuff the boss as much as possible for crit resistance. And then you want to focus on your Raging Dragon Slash, your Half Moon Slash, your Thrust of Destruction, your Four-Headed Dragon, your Red Dragon's Horn. All of those you want to focus on their damaging tripods. And then Control, similar story again, focus on quick prep on Shackling Blue Dragon, same reason for the crit debuff for the party synergy. And then you want to focus on Raging Dragon Slash, Half Moon Slash, Chain Slash, Stampeding Slash, and Wheel of Blades. Focus on those for the damage tripods. And then last in the martial artist, we have the Striker, the male martial artist, and we'll start with Esoteric Flurry. And with Esoteric Flurry here, I want to do focus on the esoteric skills first. So you have the Call of the Wind God, Blast Formation, Lightning Tiger Strike, and Tiger Emerges, whichever ones you run, focusing on leveling all of their tripods up to level 5. Okay, that's going to be your biggest damage increase, and then you can focus on leveling up your esoteric generating tripods as well afterwards, as you might see in like Vicious Tiger Strike, for example, or in Scut Shattering Blow. Those kind of things, they come secondary. And then it's a similar story in Deathblow as well. I want you to focus on your esoteric skills first. We get more of a bump in damage than we do in Esoteric Flurry, but again with the Lightning Tiger, Blast Formation, Tiger Emerges, they're damaging tripods, very, very important. And also you could work in Sweeping Kick if you're running the two-spender build. And then after that you want to focus on your generating ones like Sky Shattering Blow again, Lightning Whisper, etc, etc, okay? Alright, next let's look at the Gunner. The Gunner, I want to start with the Artillerist. Now, Artillerist is getting some changes, so please take with this a grain of salt, because I'm looking at the information that the Koreans are using. I don't know if they've fully fleshed out the changes yet themselves, but I went through all of the top 100, and this is what they were using. Okay, so we're looking at the Barrage enhancement first, and here we want to look at focusing on the damage tripods for the higher skill point ones. Okay, so we're going to look for the ones that be doing the biggest damage, and you want to level those damaging ones up first, 5. Okay, making sure that you're at least running some form of synergy as well. Okay, and this story is similar for Firepower enhancement as well. Different abilities, but again here, as you can see, there are some more obvious damaging tripods here that we want to focus on. The higher level ones are important to get up to level 5 as soon as possible. Air Raid, Honing Barrage, multiple rocket launcher, and high pressure coal. I don't have any information from this apart from what I've read on the translated notes, but that is a must in the new Firepower enhancement build. Every single player in the high-end Koreans is running it, and they're running it at 122, and they're running those tripods maxed out as well. I put a picture in just of what the icon looks like, but I don't have any more information on that. That is going to be leveled up to level 10 at least in your points, and then 5s on the tripods I've selected at 122. And that is going to be a must to focus on that as well. All right, let's move on to Deadeye next in the builds. So Deadeye, we're going to start with Pistolier first. Pistolier, very, very easy. You're just going to be looking at all the pistol skills you're using, and you want to focus on Cruel Tracker, Quick Shot, Meteor Storm, and Equilibrium. Okay, so those are going to be the big ones that people are using. They do a lot of damage, and they have kind of the best uptime for DPS, so make sure you're focusing their damaging tripods. There are some changes you can make to things like Cruel Tracker, Quick Shot to change the third level tripod to make it user friendly, or if you're more advanced you can stick with the harder version to do more damage. But either way, level 5 tripods on those skills. And then if we look at the enhanced weapon build, then starting with handguns. For handguns, you want to start with Cruel Tracker and Quick Shot being the ones that you focus the tripods on. Very, very important. Okay, and then if we move on to the shotguns, the shotguns, you want to make sure that you're focusing all of their tripods. They're the biggest damaging area of the enhanced weapon build, so make sure you're leveling up all of the tripods here that I've shown. You can change the tripod to make it more user-friendly for range, so you get less of a penalty for ranging, but that will do less damage overall in a higher skill ceiling. But yeah, focus level 5s across the board on all the shotguns. And then we have the rifle ones. I wouldn't say invest in any of the rifle skills tripods if you're running enhanced weapon, because they're used more as a filler or as a push immunity, okay, with tenacity. All right, let's move on to the female counterpart, the Gunslinger. Gunslinger, let's look at time to hunt first, and we'll start with the hand cannon. With the hand cannon, you just want to focus on the quick steps life absorption tripod first. Really, really important. It's going to help buff your damage. And then if we look at the rifle tripods, then you want to focus on all the damaging aspects of the rifle tripods that I've shown on screen. And then you want to move on to, you want to focus on then the hand cannon damage as a result afterwards. Okay, so make sure rifle damage first, and then onto hand cannon. And then if we look at the Peacemaker build again, we want to make sure that we're focusing on the quick step life absorption tripod. It's the most important for the build as well, for buffing up your damage. And then this time we want to focus on rifle and shotgun damage tripods equally. You're going to run both of them at level 5s, 3 in the shotgun and 4 in the rifle. Make sure you're leveling up those level 5 tripods at damage. And then handgun, you can work in like maybe bullet rain or dexterous shot if you need the mobility afterwards, but it's not immediate priority. Let's move on to Sharpshooter next. Sharpshooter, in Korea, they're still running a hybrid of both of the class engravings, so I'm only going to look at a combination of both. So we're just going to include it all in one tripod sheet. And here we have what I would recommend. The best priority would be focus meter generators and also focus on your damage. So your arrow wave, your charge shot, your sharpshooter, and your snipe, they're all going to be your big ones. Make sure you're focusing on their damage generating tripods. And then also, while still remembering to prioritize your meter generators from things like Blade Storm and Deadly Slash. Okay. And then lastly, the newest addition to the gunner class with a Machinist. Now, Machinist has 2 builds again. We're going to start with Artillerist skill. Artillerist skill, you want to focus on your damage tripods for your turrets. Okay, I put it up on the screen. You want to focus all the blue abilities primarily, and then Energy Buster and Annihilation mode are also really important to focus on. And then on the other side of things, the Evolutionary Legacy, so the Transformation build. This time you're going to focus on the gauge generating abilities, okay? So as you can see, there are some tripods here that focus on gauge generating, like Active Pulse, Raid Missile, Flare Beam. Wherever you see these gauge generating tripods, like Raid Missile as well, you want to focus those at level 5 first, and then the damage ones afterwards, okay? So getting into your transformation skill first is the most important, and then the rest of them can follow along after. Alright, let's move on to Mage next. Okay, so the Mage overall as a class, let's start with the Sorceress, everyone's favorite, very, very popular class. If you're playing Reflux, these are the tripods you want to focus on. Again, I picked more than 8 because there is a little bit of flexibility here. But let's start with Reflux. So you want to focus on Final Strike, Weak Point, and Quick Prep across the board. Okay, so obviously your bigger damaging abilities should take priority, like Doomsday and Punishing Strike. Those things are going to do more damage, but overall you want to still focus on anything that has Final Strike built in, anything with weak point detection, and anything with quick prep. Okay, those kind of things first, and then move on to the other tripods that help increase the damage. And then with the Igniter build instead, so the Igniter build a little bit different. This time you want to prioritize your specialty meter gain tripods. Okay, so you're going to have things like Frost Call. You just want to generate as much meter as possible, but you're also wanting to equally focus your damaging tripods on things like Doomsday, Explosion, and Punishing Strike. Okay, your big 3, especially the final tier of tripods for each of those to level 5, and then the previous tier as well is very important to level 5. Okay. And then if we look at Bard, we're only going to be looking at the Desperate Salvation build this time, and it's very important to prioritize anything that has melody increase built in, okay? So Serenade meter tripods as a whole, make sure those are priority, number 1, and then after that you can focus on your quick prep tripods. There's a few in there as well, just so you can get your cooldowns as quick as possible, okay, to improve your rotation speed. And then Arcana, we're going to look at both builds. We're going to start with Empress's Grace. Empress's Grace, it's important to focus tripods for Celestial Rain, Secret Garden, Serendipity, Return, Spiral Edge, okay, in that order. Okay, so Celestial Rain, Secret Garden, Serendipity, Return, and Spiral Edge in that order. Focus their tripods that increase damage, or the way the rotation works. And then if we move on to Order of the Emperor, okay, this time we want to focus on Call of Destiny, Quick Draw, Return, Exposed Darkness, Celestial Rain, Enhanced Strike, and Celestial Rain's Weak Point, okay? Those are the important ones to get focus first, and then everything else can fill afterwards. And you can see here I've chosen more than 8 because there is some flexibility again in this class, so there are other options as well, but these are the most commonly chosen ones played by the Koreans and the people over here, and it's kind of what's most desirable at the moment in the meta, okay? Okay, and then lastly, let's move on to Assassins. Okay, so we have the Reaper coming, but unfortunately there's nothing we can do about prepping for it. Grenton, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people expecting Reaper and Summoner won't be able to do this prep with the tripods, and so it's a huge blow to them, but I know they'll catch up in due time, just like I had to on Destroyer, with the eye level, you know, without the power pass. So, you know, we've all been through some struggles. Reaper people, I feel you, trust me, but you'll get there, I promise. But let's do Shadowhunter first then here, so we can help round off this whole thing. So Shadowhunter, let's start with Demonic Impulse. And I've got quite a few skills up here, but essentially just pick the 8 you want, and you want to focus on gauge meter generators first. Okay, so you can probably see in here there are some important generators to get yourself to transform, and then the ones we want to focus on after that are the damage ones. Okay, so the generators first, and then damage in Demonic Impulse. They're the most important ones to focus on. And then if we look at Perfect Suppression, for the few of you that are still playing Perfect Suppression, okay, you want to focus on your damage tripods. And this is just across the board. You don't need to worry about anything else. No meter generation, just focus on the damaging side, okay? So just pick the 8 that you run and focus on their ones first. And then lastly, let's get into Deathblade, the last one on the list. And we'll start with everyone's favorite Surge, okay? So I know everyone here knows how to play Surge, except me, because I don't play the class. But I've spoken to plenty of people, and in Korea as well, these are the top 9 abilities that are used. Okay, and the most important things to focus on here for Surge are your damage tripods. Okay, so make sure you're getting your level 2s and 3s tend to have your tripods built in for more damage. So make sure like weak point detections, etc., are focused first as well. And then lastly, Remaining Energy, a little bit less popular than Surge, but equally just as viable and very, very strong. And again, I've got the 8 most popular skills that are used in Korea. And first, we want to go for the orb controls. Okay, so anything with orbs controls built in. I think Maelstrom and Void Strike are the 2 obvious ones off the bat. And then again, you want to go for the damaging tripods, which tend to be the level 2 and 3 tripods to focus on. Maybe Moonlight Sonic with its first tier as well. And yeah, and generally speaking, go for the higher level tier 3s at level 5. Okay, and that's all the skills. That's every build, every skill, rapid fire, covering as much as I could, as fast as I could. I'm sorry if I dragged out this video any longer. Please let me know if any of those didn't make any sense, or maybe you run some different skills. That's absolutely fine. Okay, these are just the top meta played skills in their engraving builds. And there's obviously always room to wiggle these skills around and play what you want to play, what feels best. But obviously the Koreans are ahead of us, they've been playing longer, so I tend to go through their stuff first, talk with the community, and then try and piece together a bigger picture as a whole. So if some of this isn't what you run, that's fine. You don't have to follow these like a Bible, okay? Just play what you play. If it works, okay? A famous engineering phrase that was used when I was studying: if it works, it's not stupid. Okay, so stick with what you've got. If you want to improve, then obviously by all means look at meta and see where they're min-maxing. But this is just kind of an overarching look at all of the different builds and all the skills and all the tripods. Okay, so you've got a week before the big update. Make sure you get on top of it as quick as possible. Get these tripods sorted for the classes you play. It is the best chance you're going to have at improving your damage. Guaranteed, no RNG. Okay, so get to it, guys. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.